It is a new day at the college and everybody starts tripping at the presence of Braydin Bridges. Both girls and boys feel attracted to him. Some comment on his masculine aura. The whole crowd is blushing over him. This season Braydin Bridges is starting his first year in college and he is determined to find a new girlfriend. He is tagged as the coolest, sexiest, social media heartthrob around and he attains that image by simply being himself. He drops a box labeled fangirl number. A girl approaches him saying she's a big fan and would love to give him her number. He points to the box and tells her to drop it there. The other girls around are surprised that he doesn't personally collect her number, so they quickly decide to do the same, not wanting to lose to the first girl. Bridges on the other hand is feeling himself, but the sudden silence brings him out of his thoughts and imagination. He's surprised that no one is paying attention to him. He asks himself where all the fangirls have gone and yells out, "Braydin Bridges is here," but no one responds. He enters the building and still no one gives him attention. He tells himself maybe no one has realized who he is yet and that it's only his first day, so he decides to try again tomorrow. He's about to open the door to his room when he hears a female voice yelling at her phone, apparently at a video game. He asks himself who she's talking to, calling her a ducky little chick, and notes that he didn't know she lives next door. He thinks she sounds like a real nerd nagging out loud in public, and when she turns to him slowly he sees she is Alex Yicky, a game nerd. Braydin quickly turns his face away so she won't see him looking and admits to himself that she's not too bad for a nerd, but decides to introduce himself to her later. Studies show people in their 20s are the most overweight they've ever been, mostly from sitting on the couch or computer all day and eating cheddar and sour cream chips. That news only reminds Braydin that he wants to hit the gym, and he recalls that a study said bros who go to the gym get like 20 times more chicks and that a true alpha always stays ahead of the game. He imagines having 20 times the number of babes he currently has and convinces himself it'll be even more for him. As he heads out for the gym he tells himself it might suck, but at least there's a free one in the apartment, and just then he senses someone coming behind him. It's Yicky. She says hello and he quickly replies, remembering she's the nerd who lives next door. He tells himself this is the perfect time to get her number, thinking she's probably a fangirl. He asks if she lives next door and she replies asking if that's true because she's never seen him before. That gives him a shock because she doesn't know him, the Chad of all Chads, and he asks himself what is going on today. Feeling uneasy he tells her it's fine and decides to go old school, introducing himself as Braydin, and she introduces herself back as Alex. He adds that he's off to the gym to get his pump on and says as she can see he's quite a fit guy, then says he'll see her around. She gives him a look and replies that she's also going to the gym. He thinks to himself that she looks like someone who's never worked out in her life and tells himself it'll be good for him because he'll show her how swole he is, and she'll be amazed by his muscles. He asks if she knows where the gym is and she tells him it's right down the hall and that it's not bad. She adds that she's usually the only one there, but it seems like today she has company. She then tells him to have a nice workout and he says the same back, telling himself it's time to show her the guns. He picks up a weight and tells her to make sure she watches how it's done. He starts with the lift and counts as he goes. He comments that it's easy as always, and after 10 rounds he stops and says what a great pump he has, even though he admits to himself it was really hard, but it makes his muscles pump and he knows he looks cool doing it and bets she's impressed. Then he sees her lifting a weight heavier than his and that shocks him, but he tells himself she's just doing a different workout. For a second he thinks she won't do the same one as his, only for her to actually do it. She busts 10 representatives like it's nothing, even though she's a foot shorter than him, and makes it look easy. She says to herself that it was a nice warm-up and then she takes off her hoodie saying it's time for the next workout. Her body fitness sweeps Braydin off his feet and he clears his mind of calling her a gamer or nerd, deciding he'd rather call her a gym rat. He calls out to her and she answers that she didn't want to disturb whatever he had going on for the last 5 minutes, but if he's through he should come spot her really quick. He looks at the weight, it's much heavier and his arms are already tired from those curls. He tells himself that if he doesn't help her she'll think he's weak, so he has only one option. He yells out that he'll do it even though he looks, so she asks him if he really doesn't mind giving her a quick spot, and with a lot of despair in his eyes he says he'll do it. She calls him cool for that as they move toward the weight, but his mind kicks back and he asks himself what he just agreed to. Thinking his arms are very weak and he won't be able to hold the weight strong enough, he adds that bench press weights are really heavy and he still doesn't even know the proper way to do it. And what if he crushes her? He panics at the idea and thinks about how to escape from this before he ends up looking like an idiot or worse, a murderer, so he pretends to hit his toe on a metal stand and yells out loud that it hurts. She asks if he's alright and he tells her he's fine but won't be able to spot her for the moment. She agrees and says she'll do something else and tells him to be careful. He suddenly feels at ease that the crisis is averted and that he almost looked like an idiot there. He tells himself it's time to research how to properly spot someone. He quickly learns the basics and says to himself that was close. He still can't believe how absolutely yoked she is. He looks at her legs and admits she definitely never skips leg day and looks amazing. He calls it a whole lot of work and wonders if she might be a fitness model because she looks very impressive. He then tells her that if she still needs the spot he's good to go now. She asks if his toe can handle it and he replies that his toe is okay now. She appreciates him and tells him that she's always been alone at the gym so she hasn't been able to try it. He asks if she really can't bench alone and she opens up saying she'll be honest with him, she's scared of smashing her face. Braydin thinks to himself that he's also scared of smashing her face and becomes even more surprised when she starts adding more weight to the bar. She asks if he's ready and then begins the press. Stopping clean at the 10th rep, he watches in awe and tells himself that she really is a beast. He tries to convince himself that maybe it's not as heavy as it looks. She asks if he'd like to take a turn and he gets scared but tells himself this is his chance to prove he's jacked. He claims that she might be buff but she's still a chick and he can totally lift it. He tells her that he now sees what she's used to and that he'll do the same since it's just his normal warm-up weight, so no spotting needed. She asks if he's sure and he tells her he's super fit, but as he tries to lift it, he has a really tough time even moving the bar once. He wonders why the weight isn't going up with all the effort he's putting in. Suddenly he cries out for help. She asks what happened to it being his warm-up weight and tries to help, yelling at him to push because it doesn't even look like he's trying. He cries out that he's dying and drops the weight. Yicky feels relieved it's over while Braydin tells himself he's still alive but he didn't even manage one rep and starts to question if he's really a badass. Yicky is short of words and doesn't even know what to say, so she just giggles. Braydin thinks to himself that she's laughing at him. He yells out that he has a tummy ache and runs out. She watches him leave with a confused look and calls him an idiot. It is a new day and Daniela Sullivan feels so drained by school that she complains that it's their first week of college and she's already learned she hates life. She has 4-hour classes, 10 hours of reading, and 3 essays already due, with no time to sleep and it all feels like too much. She asks Yicky how she's been coping, but Yicky doesn't give a clear answer. Daniela asks if she should assume the reply is yes. Yicky then says that not being able to wake up at noon is now a disease. Daniela adds that it's the disease of staying up all night. Yicky continues that she has a lot to do. She has to go shopping, finish her homework, and go to the gym. Daniela teases her, asking if those are part of her 5-hour gaming sessions. Yicky yells at her not to mention her gaming life. She tells Daniela that college is a fresh start for her and that this semester, she's going to get straight A's, it's even a must. Daniela teases her, asking if she's ever gotten A's in her life. Yicky tells her to shut up, so Daniela says that if she really wants to get A's, she needs to pay attention in the next class because she's heard that it's an insane pain in the butt. Yicky asks if Daniela saw the guy from last night at the gym, but Daniela's attention is suddenly diverted. She tells Yicky to stop talking and yells out that the rumors are true. It's him, the click-clock superstar, Braydin Bridges. Yicky is completely surprised and spits out the drink in her mouth. She stares at him and asks Daniela to say it again. Daniela, still lost in the sight of Braydin, can't reply to Yicky. She says to herself that she can't believe he really goes to their school, adding that he's even cuter in real life. Yicky, on the other hand, is so lost in thought that she wonders what's going on. As Braydin enters his class, Daniela says she can't believe he's in the same class as them. She asks Yicky what their chances are. They both walk into the class pretending not to see him. Yicky thinks to herself that Braydin might not recognize her, but when she reads the look on his face, she realizes that he does recognize her. She feels like he's pissed with her because of what happened yesterday when she laughed at him. She admits that he was acting stupid yesterday, but she had to laugh and there was no other choice. She decides to just ignore him and take a seat. As the class continues, Daniela whispers to Yicky if they're still hanging out tonight. She's got some intellectually stimulating snacks planned. Yicky replies, sure. Daniela continues that she's considering trying a new salt milk recipe, and it's got salt and milk in it. Yicky repeats in shock, salt and milk? That sounds disgusting. Daniela tells her that since salt makes everything sweeter, why not milk? She adds that it will bring out the delicious milky flavor. Just then, the lecturer instructs the students to look at the paper on their desks, explaining that they'll be going over the long semester project, which is worth half of their grades. He says the project will be done in pairs. The two girls are happy to hear that they will be pairing up, but the lecturer tells them he'll be the one to assign the partners. He begins reading off the names of the partners, and Yuki thinks to herself that, of course, the only class where she knows someone is the one where she can't choose her own partner, and the situation is always awkward. Just then, the lecturer announces that Yuki's partner will be Daniela. The two girls are ecstatic and say that was a lucky pairing for them. Yuki says that now her grade has hope. Suddenly, the lecturer announces that he made a mistake and he misread the list. The shock is too much for Yuki. The lecturer then says that Alex Yuki will be working with Braydin Bridges. She feels so disappointed that she has to work with him. Braydin, on the other hand, is still in shock that he will be working with Yuki throughout the semester. Daniela, watching their expressions as they look at each other, thinks to herself that they must have known each other. The lecturer announces again that this partnership will last for the entire semester. Yuki thinks to herself that she really needs to get A's, but now she has to rely on Braydin. She can't believe it. She imagines Braydin being confident about getting an F. Daniela leans over and asks what that look is about and if they've met before. Yuki tells her that he lives next door and they used the same gym yesterday. Daniela yells at her in disbelief, shocked that she didn't mention it. Yuki shrugs and says she didn't know he was such a popular person, she just thought he was some random douche. Daniela starts imagining what he must have looked like in the gym, but Yuki thinks to herself that Daniela's imagination is far from reality. Daniela then says that Yuki has seen every single one of his abs and now gets to spend the rest of the semester with him as a partner. Yuki offers to trade partners if she wants. Daniela yells at her to stop being antisocial, reminding her that she always freaks out sitting next to cute boys, but now there's no way to escape. Yuki tries to explain that's not the problem, but just then, the lecturer announces that everyone should spend the next few minutes getting to know their partners. The class starts chatting, and Yuki awkwardly scoots closer to Braydin. After a few minutes of silence, Braydin blurts out that he totally could have lifted the weight yesterday and his stomach just started hurting. Yuki tells him to focus on their assignments because she honestly doesn't care what he lifts. Hearing that, Braydin asks her what the laugh was for then, so she did find something funny. He suddenly accuses her of breaking the most sacred gym rule, never laugh at someone who's trying their best to get fit. She agrees that it's a real rule but tells him he wasn't trying to get fit, he was trying to show off, and on top of that, he's a filthy ego lifter. He insists he's not like that and that he just misjudged the weight. She replies that he misjudged by like 100 pounds. She holds up her hand and says she sprained her wrist trying to help him, that's how dangerous it was. He tells her it serves her right, if she hadn't been trying to show off, he wouldn't have felt pressure to lift even though his stomach hurt. She yells that she wasn't showing off, he was the one flexing at her unironically. He asks if she didn't flex back when she took her jacket off. She tells him she had to assert dominance. Just then, the lecturer announces a game to loosen the mood in the room. He says they'll take turns introducing their partners to the class, then he points right at Yuki and Braydin to go first. Yuki thinks to herself that the teacher must be evil for picking her to start. She turns to Braydin and asks what they're going to say. He tells her to just say something about his famous Click Clock, it has over 3 million followers, by the way, and says he's the one who should be worried about what to say about someone lame who only goes to the gym. Yuki stands up and announces to the class, this is Braydin, and he likes to flex at girls in the gym to pick them up, except his arms are too scrawny, so it never works. The entire class bursts into laughter and tosses out funny comments. Yuki turns to him and tells him she's actually quite pretty, and people have started calling her Titi Petty Queen. She says he should consider her payment for the wrist injury. Braydin stands up angrily and snaps that if she's called the Queen, then people call him the Emperor. Just then, it hits her he's about to introduce her. He starts by saying, this is Alex, but she already feels panic rising in her chest. Braydin thinks to himself that he might have already messed this whole introduction up. As he's about to introduce her, she asks herself why she even said something like that about him. She knows she pushed his temper, and now he's the one introducing her. She wonders what he's going to say, and her heart pounds like it can't take any public embarrassment. She hopes maybe no one is really paying attention. He starts by saying her name is Alex and adds that she likes to go to the gym sometimes. Hearing that, she instantly feels at ease. It's not bad at all. She admits to herself that she's starting to feel guilty for what she said about him. But suddenly, he keeps going. He says he's not really sure what this means, but according to her, the greatest achievement of her life is catching 1,000 Pokemon and that she loves every single one of them with all her heart. She blinks, shocked, wondering how he even knew the number. Then he casually shows her that he Googled how many Pokemon exist. He tells her this should teach her a lesson. The guys in the class light up, all asking her about Pokemon and challenging her to battles after class. Braydin looks annoyed, realizing his attempt backfired because now all the guys seem to like her even more. The lecturer moves on, calling for the next group to begin their introduction. She leans in and whispers to Braydin, asking what exactly he just told the class about her. He replies that unlike her, he has a reputation to uphold. From the back, Daniela watches the two of them and raises an eyebrow. She wonders if they're already close friends and mutters, "Nice work, Alex." After class, Alex walks through the college halls, her arms full of books. She thinks to herself about how she already has this much reading to do and sarcastically notes that the books only cost $2 million. What a steal. She groans internally, thinking the semester is already looking rough, and the worst part is that she's stuck with that doofus. She asks herself if she'll really be able to survive this. Just then, her phone rings. It's Chris. She picks up and he asks if it's her, and she replies by calling his name, and he asks if she's doing well, to which she says she is. Then he explains that they've reviewed her application and, considering the circumstances of her last stint in the league, they think having her back would be risky, and she replies that she understands. But then he adds that they still see her as one of the most promising young gamers and they want her to try out for the team this weekend, and with joy she says that's great and that she's in, and Chris tells her not to worry about what happened last time, and she promises she won't. Then she heads home and once she opens the door and quietly shuts it behind her, she suddenly shouts that she can't believe it. That she got a chance and after all this time she finally has an opportunity to redeem herself, yelling that she's so hyper, that pro gamer Alex is back in business and that so many asses are about to be kicked and she's going to show every single hater who doubted her, telling herself she's way too hyped to study now even though she really needs to, so maybe she'll hit the gym early today, which also sounds great since she might avoid Braydin if she goes now, and as she walks down to the gym she keeps thinking that she still can't believe she's getting a tryout. But getting close she hears sounds from inside and wonders if someone's there already since she's usually the only one at this time and there's no way Braydin came early, and inside she sees the cleaner who waves and introduces himself as Mark, but just then Braydin's face appears and she mutters to herself that she knew he'd be there because she already sensed his idiotic presence, and he says he's been expecting her while she asks herself what he wants this time, then out loud she asks what it is and he says he has something important to ask. And though Yuki groans in her head wondering if she hasn't had enough of him for one day, she tells him to go ahead and he asks why she comes to the gym early and whether she really works out twice a day, and she confirms that yes, she trains harder than most people consider reasonable. Which shocks him and he tells her he doesn't want to share the gym with a show-off and that she should tell him her gym time so he can avoid her, and she says the same and tells him that if he gets stuck under the bench press again, he'll just have to rot there. Then she says she'll be there at 8 p.m. and he yells that he'll go at 6 p.m. Their back and forth leaves the cleaner in confused silence just watching them as Yuki warns Braydin not to bother her during workouts, to which he responds the same, while internally thinking it's the perfect time to find some weakness she has since she made him look like a fool. He's going to train in secret from now on to become the most jack badass ever and more popular than ever before. And as he wonders where to start he remembers the internet says never skip leg day, so he starts there, watching a tutorial and arranging weights while Yuki glances at the pile he's stacking and wonders if he can even lift that. He notices she's also prepping to squat. He tells himself he doesn't want to squat at the same time, but if he backs off now she'll think he's scared, so he decides to go ahead, and just then she walks over asking if he's using the extra weight, and he tells her no, so she thanks him and takes it, shocking him with how heavy it is, and he yells for her to stop while wondering if she's showing off again, but admits to himself she's just super focused. And as they start squatting he stops at his 7th rep while she keeps going and he calls her a monster at 11, saying she could probably squat 2 of him, and when she finishes she tells him to look at how her muscles are pumping and to check it out, and he thinks she's mocking him but honestly doesn't care much because she does have nice legs, and when she glances at his she says it doesn't look like he's getting the pump and that he might actually need some muscle too. So he splashes water on her face and says at least he gets good grades and will probably end up doing all the work on their project. And she asks who told him she had bad grades, and he says he always sees her sleeping in class, gaming, or doing bicep curls, so it's mathematically impossible for her to be a good student. Then he yells that she can laugh now but he'll laugh last and she'll regret crossing a click-clock superstar like Braydin Bridges, saying he was supposed to look cool and gain followers but she humiliated him and she'll pay, not now though because his stomach hurts and he needs to stop squatting, and as he walks away his legs buckle from the strain and he falls, while Yicky watches and thinks he's running away again and must be the biggest idiot she's ever met. Someone who only cares about looking cool. What a pathetic guy, and she still can't believe she's stuck with him for a whole year, and later she's walking to class thinking there's just one more day till the weekend and thankfully no class with him. Suddenly she gets a text from Danny asking if she's seen it. She's in Braydin's newest video, so she rushes to his page and sees that he's gained more followers and can't believe he's actually popular. Then she plays the video and sees it's from yesterday at the gym where she's clearly in the background while he talks about how he has something really cool to show everyone. And he says the cool thing is his muscles but she's standing front and center in the frame, and she hopes no one notices. But the comments are full of people talking about her, asking if she's his girlfriend and even saying they followed because of her, and her heart jumps because she's not used to compliments and she gets carried away. But then Braydin appears and says he knew she'd come to look for his video and teases her for being a fan, and she thinks why now of all times, telling him it was just an accident and she didn't watch it on purpose. He tells her to like, comment, and subscribe, but she asks if he filmed her on purpose because it really seems like something shady he'd do, and he checks his page and says she totally video bombed him, and she yells that he filmed the whole gym, and he suddenly looks worried and starts taking the video down, which surprises her because she didn't expect him to be responsible, but he yells that he doesn't get why everyone's commenting about her when he's supposed to be the cool one and he can't have that on his channel, and she feels disappointed that he only cares about his channel. But just then Daniela jumps on her calling her name and Yicky shouts back asking where she came from, and Daniela says she saw her in Braydin's video and that she's basically famous. Then notices Braydin nearby and points to him, saying she's a big fan and loves all his videos, and he says it's nice to meet her, and she introduces herself and adds that Alex told her he lived next door and that Alex isn't a jerk. Looking at the two of them, Braydin thinks the girl looks pretty close, so he says he's close to Yicky and that they're good buds actually. Yicky wonders what he's up to now before quickly concluding he's trying to make her look like the one with the bad attitude when he's the actual idiot, and since Danny already knows she tends to be grumpy, she mutters that this is bad and decides to leave, telling them she has class and saying see you later. Then she whispers to Daniela to be careful with Braydin because he can be a sneaky jerk, and Daniela replies that if she says so, she'll be on the watch. As she waves at him, he asks if he can see her for a second, and when she waits, he asks if he can ask her something about Alex, and Daniela immediately thinks he must have a crush and decides she'll help him hook up with Alex so she can have her first boyfriend. Alex is super cool, might look grumpy but is actually sweet, funny, smart, fearless, super fit, and hot under those hoodies and would probably crunch him with her thigh. Though he says okay, he wants to know her hobbies or anything she's good or bad at, so Daniela tells him Alex is really bad at school and pleads with him to help her as a partner. He says he knows she likes video games and the gym, to which Daniela says yes, she's really good at games, super talented, got a scholarship just to play and is trying to enter the professional league. Overhearing her coach saying she might be the first female gamer to get in, asking him if that's not awesome, and he agrees and thanks her. She tells him that if he plays games he can talk to Alex about that, and he thinks maybe he really can, and later Yicky tells Daniela everything that happened between her and Braydin. Feeling impressed with her friend, he tells her she'll be going to his house tonight, and Daniela is super excited, saying her little Alex is growing up and about to get her first boyfriend, but Yicky corrects her that it's just to do a project, and Daniela calls her a poor little naive noob, saying that's the chance to do things and promises to teach her how to make them happen, which makes Yicky curious about what kind of things, and Daniela explains that Braydin wouldn't invite her unless he liked her, but Yicky says it was actually her idea because she kept postponing their meeting and her place isn't suitable for visitors due to her living condition. She says not many can manage it and calling herself a fiend, a demon, no mortal dare tread in her sanctum. Daniela asks why she sounds proud, then gets disappointed that she only wanted to meet at his place out of laziness, telling her that there are two ways to make a guy like her, be charming or sexy, and Yicky begs her to stop, but Daniela says it's lucky she works out all the time and asks her not to imply she has a bad personality, rubbing her head and teasing that she's tolerable once she knows herself. She advises her to work quickly since it took her and her partner a couple hours for part 1, and Yicky thinks about spending hours with Braydin and groans but says as long as he actually does the work. She can't afford bad grades, and Daniela asks if it's related to the gaming program, which Yicky confirms, explaining that it's a scholarship for pro gaming prospects that covers housing, travel, and school, but she must maintain perfect grades and high performance or they'll drop her, which surprises Daniela who didn't realize gaming had become so serious, and Yicky tells her the best players earn 6 figures, prompting Daniela to ask her to sign her up, but Yicky says she needs to actually be good at games and that getting a contract would really help her and her family, to which Daniela says that if anyone can do it, it's her, she just needs to be confident. Yicky says she's trying, then later that evening she gets ready for cardio, thinking there are only a few hours left before seeing Braydin when suddenly she hears his voice behind her commenting that she even does cardio on weekends. She begins to feel like he's everywhere, explaining that of course cardio is important and healthy. He asks her to hold off for a second because he needs her help with something, and she wonders what he's up to this time, but he insists no tricks. She questions what the maniacal cackles are about, and then he asks if she knows their neighbor Jackie, and she says yes, the old one. He explains she needs help carrying some stuff upstairs and he could use some muscle, and Yicky wonders what he's planning because he's too self-centered to help anyone freely, suspecting maybe Jackie is paying him or it's a setup for a video or prank. So she looks around for a camera but decides that if it's really for Jackie, she'll help, and thinks this might be a good opportunity to get revenge if he is filming, saying she'll help and doubling the boxes, asking if they're too heavy for him. He says yes, teasing her while carrying one box and pretending it's nothing since he's super fit and could squat with it, and she tells him to keep that energy. Then Jackie appears and apologizes for bothering him since her son couldn't make it. He says it's no problem and to let him know if she ever needs help again. And Yicky wonders if he's secretly filming Jackie without permission, and Jackie teases him for getting his girlfriend to help, to which he immediately denies. He says Yicky's not even a friend, and Jackie jokes if he doesn't have a crush on her. He says she's more like a mosquito, but Jackie says she just can't keep up with slang anymore and thanks him again, and once outside Yicky demands to know what all that was about, and he looks surprised while she accuses him of setting up another one of his dumb videos and asks where the camera is, pointing out that someone like him wouldn't do something like that freely, and says he can't fool her. He looks disappointed and says he understands why she'd say that, then walks off, leaving her there, and soon it's the weekend and Yicky's happy she doesn't have to go to school, work, or run errands, calling it the perfect day and thinking that if it weren't for having to meet Braydin for the project, she'd either go for a run or play Tears of the Kingdom, then wonders what kind of annoying stunt he'll pull this time. Standing in front of his door and thinking about when they helped Jackie, trying to figure out what he meant when he left her, but deciding that whatever it is, they'll get over it and get to work, and just as she's about to knock, he opens the door and says he knew she'd be late like a slacker, which already annoys her, and he lets her in and says they should get started. She's surprised to find his apartment cleaner than expected, everything looking modern and mature like an actual adult lives there, and she notices the gadgets and wonders if the rumors about him being rich are true, thinking that she only got into the school thanks to her gaming scholarship. Then she smells something and sees pizza, Cheetos, and Hot Pockets, calling it the Mountain Dew, while Braydin secretly thanks Daniela for telling him how much she loves gaming, thinking that no gamer can resist that combo, and once she caves, she'll be hooked, and he'll become a massive man stud muffin lightning. She suddenly asks him if he's stupid, saying it's obvious he wants her to stuff herself with all that junk, so she breaks her diet, then calls him pathetic. He tells her it's not like that. She insists there's no way she could get such a waist if she ate like a slob, adding that if he were serious about the gym, he'd get a diet plan. He says he is serious and that he's cultivating mass, getting jacked. She tells him that's not how it works and says she'd never be tempted by such stupid food. Looking at her, he asks why it looks like she's about to crack and thinks to himself that his plan is working. He adds that he almost thought she was one of those pretend gamer girls who only take selfies with controllers, but now of course she'd eat gamer food. Wondering if what Daniela told him was true, he asks if she's a pro gamer. She explains she plays League of Legends and her tryout for Team Solid is really soon, that it's been her favorite game since she was 15. She asks if he plays, but then catches herself and wonders why she cares. He tells her of course he wouldn't play a stupid game like that where the top laner feeds, the support blames the carry, and the jungler invades without checking the map and dies. He says if he ever did play and was stuck in bronze, it'd only be because his team fed, even though he drops 10 kills a game as a very pro Yasuo main, then finishes by saying he'd definitely not play a stupid game like that. She's surprised by how much he knows about her game and suspects he asked Daniela to troll her, realizing that's probably how he knew her favorite food. It sucks, she thinks, because the food really does look good. She admits to herself that she's been messing up her diet for a few days now because of the stress from her upcoming tryout. She starts to reach for the food, thinking maybe just one Cheeto or Hot Pocket, but then calls herself to order, reminding herself that this is what Braydin wants, for her to look like an undisciplined animal. She tells herself she can't do it or he wins and wonders why every conversation with him feels like a battle for their pride. He continues eating and teases that it's delicious, asking if she wants some. She yells for him to go die and approaches him. He asks what she wants, she tells him something's wrong with her paper and promises to get back at him. He suddenly notices they forgot their olives. She looks pissed and tells him to focus. He says not to worry, he always has an extra jar just in case. She tells him to hurry or she'll leave. As he struggles with the stuck jar cover, he mentions he glanced through her work. He asks how the hell it got stuck. She offers to help and he wonders why these embarrassing things always happen with her. She tells him she'll open it if he can't. He tells himself he can't lose to this arrogant woman again, then tells her he doesn't want olives anymore, that he's super full. She teases him, asking if he's scared she'll open it. He considers letting her try, thinking she won't be able to open it and it'll knock her cockiness down a peg. He decides to play it cool and tells her to go ahead. She tells him to wait a second so she can take off her shirt. He asks why and she says it's to assert dominance. She wonders if she really just did that to flex on him, but tells herself it's too late to back out and she should act like she planned it. She tries to open the jar, claiming it's super easy, but the lid doesn't budge. She thinks she looks like a cocky idiot and keeps trying. He tells her it's impossible. Then, she opens it. He thanks her and tells her to stop flexing, saying his hands were greasy from the pizza. She tells him if he needs another jar opened, she's right across the hall. He says she might have won this round but maybe if she focused less on bicep, she wouldn't have messed up their project. She quickly grabs the paper, saying there's no way it's all wrong and that she worked hard on it. She wonders if she's just stupid. He says he's sure there's a bicep in her head where her brain should be. She looks stressed and says if her grades slip, she'll lose her scholarship and can't let that happen. She sits and tells him she hates to ask, but would he help fix the errors? He smiles and says he already corrected half, that he won't let her ruin his grades. She wonders how he's smarter than her and says she can't believe it, that he's actually an amazing student. He says he still needs to check the other part and stares at her with a crimson look. She thinks he always pisses her off and it's like he can read her mind. He says he'll rewrite her part and make sure it's right, but she has to do something for him with her body. She looks surprised and he clarifies that he wants her help moving furniture. She complains it's too heavy and asks if it's not done yet. He tells her to stop, that it's the perfect spot now. She asks why she's moving his furniture and he says the feng shui was throwing him off. He says it's a great deal, he'll do the schoolwork and she does the manual labor, a win-win. She says it's true but feels degraded and disrespected. He says she doesn't have to take the deal, but she agrees. He tells her not to sweat over his things, some are expensive, then starts doing the project while she moves the furniture. He teases that the project is very difficult. He finishes and stands up, saying it's perfect timing because she just finished the labor. She thinks he really did everything he said he would and it's nice, though she sees no need to praise him. He reminds her there's a test coming up and she needs to study or she'll fail anyway. She says she's leaving and he tells her not to forget to hit the books. She asks if he has to be annoying about everything. He says he's just saying maybe use one of those bench press hours on studying, that life's more than lifting and gaming. She turns and leaves angrily, saying no one asked for his worthless opinions. He seems spared and wonders what that look was for. It's a sunny afternoon. Yuki tells herself she can't believe the time has come. After almost 3 years and countless hours of practice, it's time to see if she can make a pro gaming team. She's already freaking out and it's 1 hour to her tryout. She says her entire future seems to ride on this. She tries to calm down and focus, wondering if she really can do it. She screams, telling herself to calm down and be confident. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. She's shocked, it's been a while since she's heard it and she doesn't know anybody, so she guesses it's Braydin and says she can't deal with him right now. She opens the door slowly. It's Daniela, who says she came to wish her luck and brought snacks. Yuki hugs her and asks what she did to deserve such a good friend. Daniela says she knew Yuki would be doubting herself, so she came in. Yuki confirms she was already doubting. Daniela suddenly pushes her and tells her to be confident in her training, then asks what it was she was doing again. Wasn't it a game tryout? Yuki thinks it's nice how supportive Daniela is even though she knows nothing about it. She tells her one last time, the game's called League of Legion. Daniela asks if it's that game with raging babies. Yuki continues, explaining there's an 8-month annual circuit between the top 30 teams in the world, and she's trying out for Team Solid. She says 10 players are trying out, but only 5 will make the final roster, and they'll be playing games tonight, after which the manager, Chris, will decide who makes the team. Daniela continues to shake Yuki, urging her to be confident, then says she also brought a present and pulls out a pill, calling it a performance enhancement drug. Yuki stares in confusion and yells that she's not taking that from her, but Daniela laughs and says it's just a funny joke, asking her to eat the sandwich instead, though Yuki notices the pills are still there, and Daniela admits her eyes are sharp today and it was all just a test anyway. That she was just in the neighborhood and decided to wish her luck. Yuki thanks her and Daniela adds that before she goes, she has to acknowledge how awesome her arms look, saying she's been looking really ripped lately and needs to show off the guns more often, and when Yuki asks if she really thinks so, Daniela tells her to flex and flex, so Yuki explains she's been working more on her shoulders and arms. Then Daniela touches her arm and says it's really hard and maybe she'll start going to the gym herself. Suddenly she remembers something and asks how her date with Braydin went, and Yuki immediately throws her out while Daniela calls back that she expects the details later. Just then Yuki gets a text saying the game invite is coming soon, so she rushes to her gaming setup and tells herself she can do this, that it's time to put all her training into action. Meanwhile, Daniela hears someone call out to her. It's Braydin, who calls her Alex's friend and asks if she lives nearby, and she tells him no, that she was just stopping by to wish Yuki luck, though he doesn't seem too interested, but before she goes she asks about the project and says she hopes Yuki didn't act weird. And he replies that he did most of the work but it was fine and admits he pissed her off at the end with a comment about the gym that earned him a scary look. He says they bicker all the time but this felt different and it bugged him. Daniela tells him that could be because the gym is a core part of Yuki's life and helped her through some really tough times, including when she became the laughingstock of the gaming world and lost the one thing she was proud of, her shot at becoming a pro gamer. Back at the tryout, someone asks if Yuki is there. She tests her MIC and says yes, and another player asks if she's really Alex. Yuki, saying he's curious about her skills and wants to face her later, but Chris, the team captain, tells him to chill and begins the introductions, saying their bottom lane is locked, the top laner is Sankok, support is Ermi, and he himself is captain. Then introduces Yuki as the mid lane tryout and she responds that they should dominate. Chris reminds them the final roster depends on this match and starts the game. Yuki tells herself to just play her best and not worry. The team seems confident in her and lets her pick the first champion, so she tells herself not to let them down, but as the game begins she zones out, ignoring her teammates' calls as her character stands still. Her mind floods with memories of past failures, harsh words about her weight and skills, and the sting of defeat. She asks herself why she's remembering this now, whether she'll fail again or if she's just not cut out for this, and the thoughts overwhelm her until she runs out of the room, saying she can't do it, asking herself where she's even going, eventually ending up at the gym where memories keep crashing into her and she calls herself pathetic, wondering why she thought anything could change after all her effort. Just then Braydin walks in and sarcastically asks if she couldn't resist the pump, but when he sees she's crying he jokes about squat rack weights before realizing something's wrong and apologizes, but Yuki tells him to go ahead and insult her because she deserves it. She says he was right, the gym was a waste, the time and pain pointless, and nothing has changed, calling herself a coward and a loser. Hearing the word pathetic seems to stir something in Braydin, who recalls being called that himself when he was younger. Yuki continues saying she's tired of failing and tired of pretending she can change, feeling just as weak as ever. Braydin then remembers what Daniela told him, that in high school Yuki was overweight and bullied, spent most of her time at Daniela's house due to a tough home life, was shy and awkward at school which made others think she was weird, though she stayed positive thanks to Daniela's support. Things worsened in high school but then League of Legends came out and Yuki, a natural at it, started making friends, joined a gaming club, and became one of the best in the world, even being approached by a pro team, finally seeing a future for herself. If you're eager for the next chapter, drop a comment expressing your interest in a part 2. Don't forget to subscribe and ensure to hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time.